plan looks like, because I have the first game in the season with Sheffield United. If you in reality, Sheffield United has been quite impressive. They had quite an impressive season so far. So is my here was my lineup against them, and so for the first game, you can see that the advanced that Football Manager 2020 allows you. Um, the field was divided into areas, and here you see that the combination of Mesut Ozil and Lacazette, whether it could be Aubameyang here, is quite the strength area is highlighted in the area 14th, just outside the box. So the lineups is Kolasinac, Marie, David Luiz. I chose Maitland Niles as fullbacks, right fullbacks, because this guy could offer a really good assistance to Pepe with the overloading because of his speed. We have Chamber and Socrates could play in this position, but could not offer such a high speed as Maitland Niles does. And previously, I've chosen the style of play for the tactics to be gegenpressing, and here's how it looks in possessions. So in possession, I've changed it. It's that before it was this is standard options that comes with gegenpressing, but I want the team to attack narrowly because when the attack narrows becomes with the into transitions that allows the team to focus and drill down the opponents rather than scatter out places and could be really vulnerable to counter attacks. And we play out defense and use it's focus play down the right with overlapping right because I've chosen, if you look at the tactics, you see that. Okay, statics. Okay, there it is. The plan is to use this trio, Pepe, Lacazette, and Xhaka. All of them are really good with speed. So use overloading, and with David Luiz could feed the ball from the defensive third to the final third with just one pass. Is really effective in terms of attacking, create the flow within the ranking. You can see that during the game. I have Aubameyang because he's a little bit injured before the game, but later I shall give you the highlight of the match that Aubameyang was substituted to come on to replace Saka. And Saka, I intended to use later on. I'll show you how to because in reality you see that Mikel Arteta kind of converts Saka from a wingback into a fullback, and this has become quite popular in football these days. You can see that with Alfonso Davies, with Zaka, with many players with great speed and intelligence in game intelligence in making runs, and Zaka is one of the example. I want to convert him into a fullback to 8 Kolasinac. We have more options in the left flank. So when Aubameyang later come on into the game, so we have a trio which really powerful with speed, especially Aubameyang and Pepe. And that comes that in possession you have to get kind of exploit both the flanks with this is to aid in the transitions. You play out defense, you focus on the flank and overlapping. You can see that the passing we opted for perhaps more direct way of passing with the intentions is like a little bit like what Julian Nagelsmann, has done with RB Leipzig, is that They want for when you have the ball and in transition, when you gain the ball, it's important for you to get the ball progressively up the field as soon as possible and not wasting just meaningless attempts, sideways passes between the defenders, between the CBs and the fullbacks. Okay, nothing really important, but I remember. Okay, for final third, I chose whip crosses. Okay, whip crosses. You can see here it's highlighted. If you hover around the options, sorry, whip crosses will instruct players to deliver balls into the box with pace, swerve, and dipped in order to make it as hard as possible for the defenders to deal with them. As you can see that later on in the game, one of the main part of my tactic is that I want the trial to continuing switching plays, and Mesut Ozil is gonna be the core in the attacking phase. He will sit um, around while the trial alternating between each other. Pepe will switch with Aubameyang, and Aubameyang will switch with Lacazette, and vice versa. So it's continuing, which confuse the defenders um, of Sheffield and of the opponents as well. And sometimes during the game, especially at the beginning of the second half, because at the beginning of the second half is quite a good place for you to create some surprises. I want Miss Özil to switch with Pepe, and I will have Pepe on the left, Lacazette in central, Aubameyang to the pressing forward, and Mesut Ozil to the right. Because Lacazette has a really good ball controlling and could feed the ball to both Aubameyang and Pepe, while Mesut Ozil switch to the right flank and creating an overlap with Maitland Niles. And this is basically what it looks like in when we had the possession. In transition, you can see that we focus on, because with Gegenpressing, you can expect to regroup and hold shapes. So throughout the game, we kind of used this kind of counter press and counter constantly against Sheffield United. They have really good tactic laid out by the manager, but the quality of the players is not really up there to sustain constant counter pressing from Arsenal. In terms of in transition, the goalkeeper and possessions have to distribute quickly and mainly to distribute fullbacks and centre backs, which means you have a situation that you have the goalkeeper and David Luiz and Mari will drop back inside the box for the goalkeeper to easily roll the ball out or take a short kick. I personally prefer short kicks because a roll it out is kind of really like kind of sort of give away to the forward. And they could anticipate the rollout from the goalkeepers and pressed David Luiz and Murray. Okay, and this is how the out of possession looks like. We prevent the short GK distribution, which means that we're pressing the pressing forward, which could be either Lacazette, which could be whether Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Pepe will be, because you see in here is that his the position here is pressing forward. So what pressing forward do is the main duty is to put pressure on the opposition when they have possessions. It means that the forward will press the goalkeeper to prevent quick distribution from them. To stay on field, unlike the idea of getting stuck in and getting yellow and even red during the match. Will play with, because of the high pressing, I think it's more, it's good to have a defensive line, which is quite high because of the defensive line is quite high to put the pressure on the middle third and in the final third of the game. I think it's best to have a offside trap for Sheffield. Um, as indicating in here is the use offside trap. Okay, one more thing about the player. You can see that you could instruct each positions. Don't worry about the player, but you can instruct. You could set different instruction for a particular position in the game. You can see that I want the main part is that you could clearly understand that there will be the switching between uh, the front three, the trio. But what I want to have is that Pepe, and Pepe will be an inverted winger. So I want him to drop to cut inside as often as possible. So when Pepe drop inside, Maitland-Niles will make an overload, and Mesut Ozil will drop a little bit lower to create more sort of perspective and passing range Mesut Ozil to both flanks. And this is how it looks like with Pepe. A position where it could be Pepe, it could be Aubameyang, and sometimes it could be Ozil, but get the ball forward, run from positions, because the run from position gives players the freedom to leave their designated position, which means that they could cut inside and say inverted winger. Want him to take more risk, especially with the trait of the players is he wants to dribble more. He's really good with dribbling. Okay, that is Nicola Pepe. And you can see that in here I have the swapping options, which during the game, and this will be toggle in the second half, not at the beginning of the match. At the beginning, especially in the first half, I want Mesut Ozil to sit still and to distribute the ball and be acting as a link up between the double pivot. In this 4-2-3-1, the double pivot here is I'll show you later, but the main task of the double pivot here is to aid the defense. Although it's attacking tactics, but I want these guys to aid the defense more than assisting the attack, because the attack is really volatile and with the aiding of the CBs. So here we have a sort of a rectangle of the double pivots and the CBs, which is so important during the game. So the swapping, okay, player traits. You can see that for especially because the positions are currently occupied by Nicolas Pepe. You can see that the player trait here that should be aligned, because the cut inside with ball is sort of in contradicting with the player trait run with ball down right. So Pepe is really good with run ball down the flank, which is approaching the byline and making a cross. But Sheffield United, they have a bike of normally when they are out of possession and defending the final third, they'll have 5 men line spreading across the box. So it's really hard, and Pepe making a run down the flank would often get chopped up. Like to try to beat offside trap, and links like to beat man repeatedly and cut inside from right wing. So this one cut inside from right wing will synchronized with the cut inside with ball. So it's quite interesting and really detailed, I have to say, from the new versions, which is a huge improvement from previous one, which allows you to be more adept in tactics and really it's really close to reality. So go back to players. We have Mesut Ozil. You see here that also plays a swapping option with Nicolas Pepe. So with Ozil, and so I want him to hold up ball to wait for the trial to regain their position before making a play forward, move into channel. You see that Mesut Ozil is allowed to move between within the middle, and sometimes to move into the channel, which in combination with Lacazette to create passing options for player from behind. Okay. I haven't really been working on specific options for Guendouzi and Torreira, which is my preferred options for the double pivot. You can see here that Torreira for me would be the deep lying playmaker. The deep lying playmaker operates in the space between the defense and midfield that aim to initiate attacking movement via pinpoint passes to players positioned higher up in the pitch. Standard Torreira could be the one with this option. But although primarily a creative player, deep lying players also had to be compared to our defense, which is so suited to, for Torreira.